September 8th, 2024 in Brisbane. So we're studying Canto 1, the creation, chapter 10, the departure of Lord Kṛṣṇa for Dvārakā, and today we'll discuss verse number 30 onwards. So 1, 10, 30. So please repeat after me. Etah param stritvam apastapeshalam. Got 1, 10, 30, everyone? Etah param stritvam apastapeshalam. Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate. Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate. Yasham grihat pushkaralochana patir. Yasham grihat pushkaralochana patir. Najat papatyayirtibhir hridhi sprishan. Najat papatyayirtibhir hridhi sprishan. Etah param stritvam apastapeshalam. Nirasta saucham bata sadhu kurvate. Yasham grihat pushkaralochana patir. Najat papatyayirtibhir hridhi sprishan.
Etah param stritvam apastapeshalam. Nirasta saucham bata sadhu kurvate. Yasam grahat pushkaralochana patir. Najat papatyayirtibhir hridhi sprishan.
Etah param stritvam apastapeshalam.
Etah param stritvam apastapeshalam.
Nirasta saucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta saucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkaralochana patir.
Yesam grihat pushkaralochana patir.
Najat papatyayirtibhir hridhi sprishan.
Najat papatyayirtibhir hridhi sprishan.
Word to word translation, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Please repeat after me. Etah, all these women, param, highest, stritvam, womanhood, apeshalam, without individuality, nirasta, without, shaucham, purity, bata sadhu, auspiciously glorified, kurvate, do they make, yasham, from whose, grihat, homes, pushkaralochana, the lotus-eyed, patihi, husband, najatu, never at any time, apaiti, goes away, ahriti, by presentation, hridhi, in the heart, sparshan, endeared. Translation, please hear. All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotees surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord sincerely, the Lord accepts them. And thus the devotees at once become free from all material contaminations. Such devotees are above the three modes of material nature. There is no bodily disqualification of a devotee, just as there is no qualitative difference between the Ganges water and the filthy drain water when they are amalgamated. Women, merchants and laborers are not very intelligent, and thus it is very difficult for them to understand the signs of God or to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. They are more materialistic, and less than them are the Kiratas, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abhiras, Kankas, Yavanas, Kashas, etc. But all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. By engagement in the service of the Lord, the designated disqualifications are removed, and as pure souls, they become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. The fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasur sincerely prayed to Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wives, and thus their lives became glorified. Such auspicious glorification was still more glorified when the Lord prayed with them as the most devoted husband. The Lord used to live with his 16,108 wives constantly. He expanded himself into 16,108 plenary portions, and each and every one of them was the Lord himself without deviation from the original personality. The Shruti mantra affirms that the Lord can expand himself into many. As husband of so many wives, he pleased them all with presentations, even at a costly endeavor. He brought the Parijata plant from heaven and implanted it at the place of Satyabhama, one of the principal queens. If therefore anyone desires the Lord to become one's husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. Beautiful. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamaśloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. It's interesting how Prabhupada's purports are. This way everyone would like to have Krishna as husband. Because he says, yes, even at costly endeavor, he pleased them all with presentations. We all want that, yes? We all want gifts. And what better position than to get a gift directly from Krishna. Just imagine this. So this is, again, a wonderful story, a wonderful situation in Srīmad Bhāgavatam, where Krishna is departing. And we see that the Mahabharata Yuddha has finished, Bhishma Pitama has spoken, Yudhishthira Maharaj has been coronated the king, Krishna has stayed with him for some time and now he wishes to leave. And as we also do, generally when we have to leave on Saturday evening, I'm sitting in my car and someone else takes half an hour to say aujo to everyone else. So Krishna is like that. He doesn't want to leave, but at the same time, he takes his own time because one after the other, the devotees are glorifying him very nicely. And these glorifications just coming from their hearts very beautifully. Prabhupada of course says that, women, merchants and laborers are not very intelligent. I'm not going to discuss that. If anyone's interested, there's a very nice YouTube video called The Great Debate, where Keshav Maharaj and Brajbihari Prabhu they're having a debate with the man and devotees on why Prabhupada is using statements like this. Very, very wonderful presentation. And they're presenting very nicely that even though Prabhupada makes this statement based on our psychophysical nature, but at the end he says also that Krishna doesn't discriminate, Prabhupada doesn't discriminate, and that we can see from other statements what Prabhupada makes, other statements what Krishna makes, like in I think 10:34 if I'm not mistaken, Krishna says, among women I am fine speech, fame, fortune and steadfastness. So of course Krishna then glorifies women also. And here you can see some wonderful prayers are being given. We also heard that Krishna, these ladies in the palace are glorifying who in this verse, in these 3 verses, they're glorifying the wives of Krishna who were saved from the clutches of Narkasura or Bhaumasura, as we discussed yesterday also by Bhamaya Mataji. So the verse mentions that they are being without individuality and without purity, but as we know, everyone is an individual. When it's spoken in scriptures that one is without individuality, what does that mean? Because Krishna says very clearly in 2:12, right? Bhagavad Gita. Natvevaham jatu nasham, natom neme janadipa. Yes? What's the meaning? So make sure you don't go to sleep today. What's the meaning of 2:12? Natvevaham jatu nasham, natom neme janadipa. Nachaiva bhavishyama sarveva mataparam. That never was a time, Arjuna, when you and I and all these kings did not exist, and never will a time in future will there be cease to be. So Krishna establishes our own individuality. Yes, a very important phenomenon of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Do you agree? Because yes is not very convincing. Do you agree? Yes. So we are individual, but here it said that their lives, despite their being without individuality. So here, when anywhere in the Shastra it is mentioned that we are without individuality, means our desires are not separate from Krishna. That means our desires are completely in sync with Krishna's desires. So these girls who were captured by Bhaumasura, they had no other desire except to please Krishna. And that was the only desire which they had. So he says, without individuality and without purity, of course, they were kept by Bhaumasura. And as we discussed yesterday also, that even if one day the girl stays away from the house, in those days, in Vedic times, it was considered as to be very impure. So, this is the background we have studied, and we know that Krishna is now departing from Hastinapur, and he is going to arrive in Dvārakā very soon. So 2 separate types of love on the 2 extremes are being portrayed here. This love is what we call Vipralambha Bhava, the love in separation. Because for these devotees, when they hear that Krishna is leaving, what happens to them? Some of them, they faint. Yeah? When Radha Kirikosana is leaving from here, does anyone faint here? No one faints here. Hope not. So, these devotees, when they see that yes, Krishna is leaving them, even one moment is like millions of years. As we know, the last verse of Shastra, one moment is like millions of years. We don't have that feeling as yet. But when these wonderful personalities, when they see Krishna go, they are fainting. Some of them started to cry very profusely. They are crying and they are fainting. So this is the Vipralambha Bhava which is discussed in this chapter. And in the next chapter, what is going to be discussed?
The joy of Krishna arriving in Dvārakā.
In Dvārakā, yes. So that is the joy of union, and this is the joy of separation. Now, as we know in Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, the joy of separation is actually higher, the highest level. Because, Krishna is with me, then we take it for granted. But when Krishna is not there with me, and same thing happens, I don't know whether it happens to all of you, but it happens to me sometimes only. When we are away from the devotees, then what happens?
You feel morose.
Yes, we want to come back as quick as possible, even when we go on holidays without devotees. Okay, now we go on holidays with devotees, so it's good. When we go on holidays without devotees, then we will miss the devotees association, we miss Krishna. The same way here, the devotees are missing Krishna. But one thing is here, even though we see that the ladies, when they are speaking about Krishna, the previous verses they're talking about, the fortune of the queens of Dvārakā, that Krishna is going to kiss them, Krishna is going to spend time with them and all that. But one common thing in these prayers is, between Kunti Maharani in these prayers, is that they don't want us to just take these situations for granted. So what do they start with? Namasya Purusham Tvadyam Ishvara Prakrite Param. Kunti Maharani starts like that and establishes Krishna as the greatest. When Krishna establishes the greatest in the beginning, then you will understand that yes, even though Krishna does all these intimate things, but he is still the greatest and I cannot take him for granted. So in our devotional service, we do the same thing. Even when we worship Gaura-Nitaya, Radha Krishna, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Shaligram, Giri Govardhan, whatever, but we worship in the mood of awe and reverence. That mood has to be always there. Yesterday someone sent me a WhatsApp, very interesting. The devotee was fortunately here yesterday. And they were saying that, it was discussing, how we should have a Manjari Upasana. And, then we should know our Swarupa, original Swarupa in the spiritual world. And then, these things are not being discussed enough for us to go into that detail. Then I asked the devotee, I said, how is our chanting going? Are we passing the stage of, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti? Because we know Anartha Nivritti is the longest period in most of our spiritual lives. So when we don't even pass Anartha Nivritti, we're talking about these stages. So our scriptures make sure that we do not jump the gun too quickly. And they want to make us very grounded. Yes? When we want to, as they say, the palm trees are very tall. But why don't they generally fall when there's strong wind? No, of course, when there's absolutely strong wind, they'll fall. But generally, palm trees and other trees which are tall, they won't fall because they are very much grounded. So they say that if you really want to progress in life, if you want to really take success in life, even if you're flying high, you must be grounded. So same thing here, our scriptures time and time again tell us that yes, Krishna can be very intimate. But as far as we are concerned, we should be understanding that Krishna is the greatest and we should always deal with him, deal with the devotees in awe and reverence. So Kunti Maharani also starts the prayer by describing Krishna as, yes, Namaste Purusham Tvadyam, you are the Adi Purush and I bow down to you. Ishvara Prakrite Param, you are the controller of Prakriti. And here also, when the ladies of these palaces are glorifying Krishna, they start with saying Krishna, you are the yes, you are the creator, you are the maintainer, and you are the annihilator. So you are not someone like us. You are not someone like us. So this is the concept which we have to understand that these queens are basically passing on the message to us. Then they are extolling the qualities of the residents of Dvārakā. So these are the queens in Dvārakā. And we know that Prabhupada said that the three places, Mathura, Dvārakā and Vrindavan, these three places, the residents are very, very very fortunate, they are very exalted devotees, they are very close to Krishna. And even when in our cases, when we visit those places, when we perform devotional service there, the effect on us is multifold. So this is the situation when Krishna is present. He is going to Dvārakā now, and the ladies do not want us to understand that Krishna is one of us, and that's why they are glorifying the greatness of Krishna. Now we know that Krishna has got 16,108 wives, and who wants to see how efficient is Krishna, how effective is Krishna as husband? Who wants to see that? Narad Muni. So in the 10th canto is described that Narad Muni wants to see 16,000. How does my Lord take care of them? And he visits, each palace one by one, and we'll see in detail in the 10th canto that Krishna is dealing with each one and doing different things at the same time. And as Prabhupada mentions here, Prabhupada says here, as husband of so many wives, he pleased them all with presentations. And also Prabhupada mentions here that and each and every one of them was the Lord himself without deviation from the original personality. So each one of them was Krishna. Now Narad Muni is also blessed by the Lord to do one service. What is that service? Simple service. What is the service? Why would we think too much? What is the service?
Preaching. Traveling and preaching.
Yes. To travel and when I ask a question, everyone just goes into the deep mode. No, it's a simple question. Let's not go too deep here. So Narad Muni, Krishna blesses him to go and glorify Krishna and talk about Krishna. So we are the followers of Narad Muni. So what does Narad Muni then do? When he sees the pastimes of Krishna, the stories of Krishna in 16,108 palaces, he has got enough stock to glorify. Yeah? I can go on, no problem. Because Narad Muni is the Shakti Avashavtar of Bhakti Shakti. He is the personification of Bhakti Shakti. So he is very much devoted, he sees this, he's got the knowledge, and then he goes. Same thing we do. Yeah, we hear something or we hear some class, and then we repeat. Whatever we do here, we write notes, and then if we have to give a class somewhere else and to speak to someone else, we do the same thing. So then, when we hear constantly about Krishna's pastimes, then we also can meditate on it. We can repeat the pastimes like that. So Narad Muni is, happy, 16,108 pastimes, and then he says, okay, I can also do the same thing, repeat these pastimes. Any questions so far? Any comments? Yes, no? Anything from the pulpit?
Once I was hearing a class by Prabhupada, and he was mentioning this pastime of Krishna going to the Swargaloka, and they're confronting Indra. And as Prabhupada is telling the pastime, he's so jovial and he's laughing, and some of the things I remember Prabhupada says is, Indra said, you can't have it, this is my territory, this tree Parijata belongs only to heaven. And then Prabhupada says, Krishna says, but my wife wants it, so I have to take it. And then Prabhupada is laughing out.
Yes. So when we also hear with the childlike excitement, Prabhupada actually usually had childlike excitement. For everything he was very, excited. You can see from his pictures, look at that picture there. He's like just having a childlike innocence, and the excitement is there. So even same thing when he was hearing in Los Angeles, Dvārakā temple, that they were talking about how Balaram defeats the fights with Dvita gorilla. So Prabhupada is saying, like yes. When we're sitting and we're just watching some exciting game like that. So Prabhupada is actually getting into the Leela. When we hear these stories, actually, these stories are very much Why are these stories given to us? Why, this is a story, it's not just a Leela. You can see, Prabhupada, you can see that with every verse he's making it a story. Why? Because story is applicable to all of us. We can relate to the story. Actually, yes. When I leave, as I said, when I leave, it takes half an hour for me to go out of this place. Yes, this is relatable. Krishna, when he's leaving Hastinapur, and the devotees have millions and millions of times love for him, why didn't they allow him to leave? Under some pretext or the other, they will keep him there. So the story is applicable to us. Then the story becomes very personal to us also. Because we relate to it. It's actually very much personal. When we hear also some stories like how, Prabhu says, I have to take for my wife. I remember when it was our 25th wedding anniversary. And my Guru Maharaj knows me very well. So when he knew that it was coming, he told me, he sent me a message, he says, Saki, I want you to buy a good gift for your wife, but that gift has to be approved by me. And that gift has to be expensive. So you go, select something, send me a picture, send me the price, and only if I approve it, then you can give the gift. I said, yes. So you can relate these stories like that. Krishna also is giving the story. These stories then also become emotional for us. We become emotional, and as we know that devotees who are advancing, devotees on the lowest level, Kanishta Adhikari, we have seen that before, that we see Shastra through our emotions. That when we are not feeling very good, then Shastra really doesn't appeal to us, doesn't make sense to us. We think, no, this is not true, how can it be possible? But when we progress in the spiritual life, then we see our emotions through Shastra. It reverses. So these stories also become, yes, personal. Yes. When we hear like Bhishma Pitamaha defeating 10,000 elephants, or we hear of Bhima eating so much, do we ever think like that? Krishna having 16,108 wives. But when we see the Shastra, when we see our emotions through Shastra, we can see, yes, for Krishna, anything is possible. Many years ago when I was just new, and we were thinking of, how can these stories be true? And I had a light bulb moment at one time. We had one gardener, an elderly, Gujarati person used to come and help us in gardening. And I was always embarrassed because he was like 25 years senior to me, but he was working very hard in the garden. One day he picked up a weed, and he came to me and he showed me the weed. He says, how many roots does this weed have? How many roots does a weed have? Maybe 10, 20, 15, hundreds of roots it had. So if an ordinary weed can have 100 mouths, why can't we accept that someone like Ram had 10 faces, someone like Brahma can have 10,000 mouths like that? So an ordinary weed, and it was a light bulb moment for me. Yes, this is what, the emotions are there, that it becomes very personal for us. So when these stories are given to us, when these leelas are discussed, when we really meditate on these, it becomes very much related to our own lives, like that. Okay, any questions or comments before we move to the next verse? Evam vidha gadanti nam sagiraha purayoshita nirikshena abhinandana sasmitena yayo harihi. Evam vidha gadanti nam sagiraha purayoshita Nirakshena Bhinandana Sasmitena Yayo Harihi. Evam Vidhaganantina Sagiraha Puriyoshita Nirakshena Bhinandana Sasmitena Yayo Harihi. Evam Vida, in this way, Vedantinam, thus praying and talking about him. Saha, he the Lord, Giraha, of words, Pura Yoshitam, of the ladies of the capital, Nirakshanina, by his grace of glancing over them, Abhinandan, and greeting them, Sasmitena, with a smiling face, Yayav, departed, Hare, the personality of Godhead. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. While the ladies of the capital Hastinapur was greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. So we can see some of the words as Nirikshanena, by his grace of glancing over them, and here the also word Iksha is there. So Niriksha means Niriksha. Basically it's to look at someone in an affectionate glance. Or you can see someone overseeing something. Like Niriksha also means to oversee something. So the word Iksha also is there, and then the Sasmitena. So Kṛṣṇa is very affectionately, very nicely looking at these ladies, and basically all the devotees, and then with a smile, then he departs from the city. So this is the time when Kṛṣṇa is actually leaving. So just understand this, that this is Srīmad Bhāgavatam. For us it has taken such a long time for Kṛṣṇa to leave. And then very quickly Kṛṣṇa will arrive at Dvārakā and will again be joyful that Kṛṣṇa has arrived in Dvārakā. Text number 32.
Sorry, one question from online.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Ishwari Keshvi Mataji. How to not get discouraged during the Anartha Nivritti period, as it is the longest period of our spiritual lives?
Can you repeat the question to again?
How not to get discouraged during the Anartha Nivritti period, as it is the longest period of our spiritual lives?
Yes, we know that in the second verse of Shikshastakam, we recite, how does it go? Nam Nam Akari Bhuta Nij Sarva Saktish Yashada Sparnena Kala Etadrishi Bhagwan Mamapi Durdevam Idrisham Ihijani Nanuraga. Na Anuraga. Nanuraga means Na Anuraga. That Kṛṣṇa, we can easily approach you through your holy names, and that's why you have given how many names? Hundreds and millions of names. So Kṛṣṇa has given these hundreds and millions of names. And we can easily approach him by just chanting his names. What's the big deal? But what is stopping us? Na Anuraga. So Bhaktitirtha Swami very nicely says, our anarthas, our attachments are stopping us from approaching Kṛṣṇa. So in the Anartha Nivritti stage, which is the longest, I'm not saying it's a general, universal principle, generally Anartha Nivritti is the longest stage. And it also coincides with a period where, yes, we are trying to get detached from everything material. We're trying, we're not yet successful. We're trying to get detached from everything material, and we are trying to get attached to Kṛṣṇa, the devotees, Kirtan, Prasadam, his affectionate pastimes, Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Bhagavad Gita, like that. In between there is a stage where there is a risk that yes, we can get detached from the material affairs, but we are still not so much attached to the devotional affairs. So these are two coinciding periods. What we have to do is understand that we have to do introspection, as we mentioned yesterday. But with the youth we said, you have to introspect. So when introspection happens, you see two things. One is our own progress in bhakti, and the other thing we also introspect on where my weaknesses are. in any project, when we are working as a team in any project, we understand each one's capacities, but at the same time we understand each one's limitations. Yeah? Otherwise, if we just focus on capacities and we don't understand limitations, it won't work. And the other way around also, it won't work. So in our own introspection, we see how much progress we have made in our devotional practices, both quantitatively and qualitatively. Mind you, very important. Both quantitatively and qualitatively. At the same time, we also introspect on our anarthas, that which anartha we need to tackle now, which anartha has sort of subsided, which anartha needs more attention. It's like anything else. When we're cooking, we check everything, yes? Is the rice cooked? Has the carrots been cooked properly? Is the spice mixed? Everything we check. At the same time, we make sure that it doesn't get burned. So these two things are going to be under microscope in our introspection simultaneously. Sometimes when we don't introspect about our weaknesses, or when it becomes sometimes very scary, because when we chant Hare Krishna, our original personality, our original form comes out. And that is very scary to look at. Please understand me. Because don't think I am the very nice, soft, gentle, advanced Sakiraidas. Don't think like that, please. The anarthas come out. When anarthas come out, we have to focus on the anarthas also, and then try to pray to Krishna, try to speak to the devotees, try to focus more on spiritual life, and this way, slowly, the anarthas also will go away. So even though it's the longest period, but once we come to a stage where yes, and for me personally, what I do is, my mind is like everyone else's mind, very, 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 very wicked. I try to do physical things more and more into devotional service, so that the mind doesn't have any time to muck around with me. I try. I'm not saying I'm successful, but I try. And that's why when we try to, get more and more services done in our life, then the period of anartha nivritti shortens, and then we can say, okay, like this is easy now. As we always give the example of the fisherman going, putting his boat on the ocean. So in the beginning he puts the boat with hard labor, then the waves push him out, then he tries again, then the waves push him out again, then he tries again. But one time will come when the boat is on the water and it doesn't have to push anymore. So same thing like us, when we have pushed the anarthas out, and one day the devotional service is fairly established in our life, then the anartha nivritti stage comes to the end. Does it make sense? Yes, no?
Thank you.
Okay. Maybe you can ask the person who asked the question if it makes sense.
I'll do that.
Verse number 32. Ajata Shatru Pritanam. Ajata Shatru Pritanam. Gopi Thaya Madhu Dishaha. Gopi Thaya Madhu Dishaha. Parebhya Sankita Sneha. Parebhya Sankita Sneha. Prayunta Chaturanginam. Prayunta Chaturanginim. Ajata Shatru Pritanam. Gopi Thaya Madhu Dishaha. Parebhya Sankita Sneha. Prayunta Chaturanginam. Anyone?
Ajata Shatru Pritanam.
Ajata Shatru Pritanam.
Gopi Thaya Madhu Dishaha.
Gopi Thaya Madhu Dishaha.
Parebhya Sankita Sneha.
Parebhya Sankita Sneha.
Prayunta Chaturanginim.
Prayunta Chaturanginim. Yeah? Ajātashatru Pitanam Gopithaya Madhudvisha Sankita Sneha Prayukta Chaturanginim. Anyone else? Word to word, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ajātashatru, Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was no one's enemy. Pritana, defensive forces. Gopithaya, for giving protection. Madhudvishaha, of the enemy of Madhu, Sri Kṛṣṇa. Parebhyaha, from others' enemies. Sankitaha, being afraid of. Sneha, out of affection. Prayukta, engaged. Chatur Angrim, 4 defensive divisions. It's interesting how Prabhupada translates Gopithaya as for giving protection. Normally you think Gopi is like Gopi something, but here Gopithaya means, he's giving protection. Maharaj Yudhishthir, although no one's enemy, engaged 4 divisions of defense: horse, elephant, chariot and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy and also out of affection for the Lord. Natural defensive measures are horses and elephants combined with chariots and men. Horses and elephants are trained to move to any part of the hills or forests and plains. The charioteers could fight with many horses and elephants by the strength of powerful arrows, even up to the standard of the Brahmastra, similar to modern atomic weapons. Maharaj Yudhishthir knew well that Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher, and yet there were Asuras who were by nature envious of the Lord. So out of fear of attack from others and out of affection also, he engaged all varieties of defensive forces as bodyguards of Lord Krishna. If required, Lord Krishna himself was sufficient to defend himself from the attack of others who counted the Lord as their enemy. But still he accepted all the arrangements made by Maharaj Yudhishthir because he could not disobey the king who was his elder cousin. The Lord plays the part of a subordinate in his transcendental sporting, and thus sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yashoda Mata for his protection in his so-called helplessness of childhood. That is the transcendental lila or pastime of the Lord. The basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotees is exhibited to enjoy a transcendental bliss for which there is no comparison even up to the level of Brahmananda. Such a nice verse and purport actually. So many etiquettes we learn from here. Can someone say which etiquette we learn from here? Please. When we hear, we must hear carefully.
Krishna can protect himself, but he still depends on the army of Yudhishthir to protect him.
Why? Prabhupada says in the purport, why?
He wants to make others feel that they are also a part of the war.
Yes, but here Prabhupada says one specific reason. Yes, he could not. So he could not disobey, even though Krishna was Supreme Lord, he could not disobey the king and also his elder cousin. So someone who's elder, he must, accept their advice, suggestions, instructions. Okay, what other etiquette is there?
Sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yashoda.
Yes, that's one thing, yes, Krishna, that's a part-time, pastime, but what's the etiquette here? Because we understand, our path, our life, Krishna consciousness, has got 3 components to that. What we are studying is Siddhanta, the philosophy. Yeah? Then there is culture, and then there is etiquette. There is culture of Krishna consciousness, there is etiquette in Krishna consciousness, there is philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So here, what other etiquette is being shown here? You know, when someone comes to your house from interstate or overseas, what do you do when they're leaving? You go to the airport to drop them off. Or you tell them, okay, take Uber and go. What culture we have? We drop them off at the airport. So what's Yudhishthira Maharaj doing here? Dropping off Kṛṣṇa. You know, he's saying, okay, you know, I've come, you know, of course, Yudhishthira and Pandavas, you know, one of the meanings of the word Yudhishthira, what is the meaning of Yudhishthira? Sthira means he's steady, and Yudhi means Yuddha. He's steady in war. He's always steady in war, and also always steady in his behavior outside the war. So Yudhishthira means someone who's always steady, he knows his etiquette, he knows everything was to be done. One of his names also is Dharmaraj. He knows the principles of religion. So Yudhishthira is doing the right thing by making sure that, you know, his army. He, of course, and the Pandavas went for quite a long time, and then Krishna says, okay, Bhaiya, go home now. Then he says, okay, no, wait. I will go, but I'll still send some of my soldiers. Very well knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But still, Yudhishthira Maharaj is standing as a matter of etiquette. And then in the previous verse we saw that the horses and the elephants can traverse any terrain. And that's why, you know, they were quite effective when Krishna is going from Hastinapur to Dvārakā. And Prabhupada says here, the natural defensive measures are horses and elephants. What else is there? That affection is shown here. Affection is shown here by both. By both. Yudhishthira, even though he knows Krishna can protect himself, but, you know, he's so affectionate that yes, even though Krishna can protect himself, but still, I want to send someone. And then Krishna is affectionate to Yudhishthira also. He says, okay, because he's doing so much, I will also accept his gift. And we also in our normal life, you know, Mahatma Prabhu said very nicely, he said, when we do some service and someone praises us, of course in our hearts and minds we offer that praise to our Guru, to Prabhupada. But at the same time, externally, we should say thank you. Thank you for appreciating, because Mahatma Prabhu says that's a gift which someone is giving. A praise is always a gift, you know, which someone gives. And when someone gives you a gift, you know, you just don't artificially say, no, Prabhu, I'm not qualified, you know, no. You just accept the gift nicely and say, thank you very much. I mean, not that we are getting proud, but this is a good etiquette to have, that yes, we are accepting a gift nicely here. So you can see that these personalities are now going to be bereft of Krishna's association. And our situation is like that. A few weeks ago, maybe last week, I don't know, I had a thought block when I was giving a class and I was discussing, you know, our approach to Krishna. And for us, Prabhupada has made it very simple. Very, very simple. Just chant Hare Krishna, you know, study Bhāgavatam, take Prasadam. And when we are chanting the Lord's names, we know that our minds are going everywhere. Yeah. And I was discussing the analogy which Sachinandan Maharaj gives to us. And he says that when we want to associate with Krishna through Srīmad Bhāgavatam, through our chanting of the holy names, through devotees, through prasadam and all that, especially he's talking about chanting, that he thinks that you know, Krishna, he compares our chanting with exploring a very big palace which one of our very dear friends, Krishna, has. And he says there are many, many halls in the palace, and I was discussing that, and I had a thought block and I just could not remember what it was. So yesterday also same thing happened when I was leading the Arati, and I became proud that I remember the Arati, and the second verse Krishna showed me, my pride was smashed like this. I was very happy. You know, yes, you know, you have to be humble in front of the Lord and the devotees. So same way, you know, it happens, and we are happy. You know, the other day we were talking with the Jayanti Maharaji that, please hear very carefully, Dharadhar Swami says nicely, he says, spiritual life is feeling good about feeling bad about oneself. So when we feel bad that I became proud, and then my pride was smashed, we're feeling very bad, you know, in front of everyone. Sakina, you don't even remember the Gaura Arati. So you feel very bad. But then if you could, yes, Krishna smashed my pride. So this is what happens that, yes, Krishna shows us time and time again. Same thing it does to Arjuna. So then, three halls, Satyananda Maharaj says in our chanting, and the first hall is the hall of Shraddha, the faith, Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Bhaiya. No, don't spell that right. Nitya Shuddha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukta Abhinatvam Nama Namino. So Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that we have to understand that Krishna and his name are not different. So that faith we have to have. So that's the first hall. When we are starting to chant, in the beginning we take up our chanting beads, start our rounds, pray to the mala, pray to the Guru, and then we, spend a moment thinking, actually yes, I'm inviting Krishna into my heart. Even though I'm chanting with my lips and tongue and hearing with my ear, but I'm inviting Krishna into my heart. So the faith has to be there, that Krishna and the name are non-different. Abhinatvam Nama Namino. So that's the first hall. We just start chanting. The second hall, he says, is of Shraddha, the faith. The faith is there that yes, by chanting, by associating with Krishna, by chanting Hare Krishna, actually I am worshipping the divine couple. I am worshipping Radha Krishna in the Kunjas. He says that faith has to be there, that yes, Krishna, and there's some devotees, actually some advanced devotees, when they chant, they actually are offering garlands to Krishna, they're offering chandan to Krishna, and they're not like artificially doing it. It is just their mode of service, which also they meditate while chanting. Of course, we're not supposed to do artificially. No, because just the 6 magic words are try to hear yourself chant sincerely. So second hall is the hall of Shraddha. That yes, the name is going to give me the worship of Krishna and bring me closer to Krishna. And the third hall is what Chaitanya Maharaj says, is the hall of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That how he teaches, in how he is performing his pastime in the mode of separation. So for us also, when we chant Hare Krishna, we should think that Krishna, you are very far and I am so much separated from you. Oh Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we say Krishna, Govinda, you are so far from me. Please, may my sincere chanting bring you closer to me, closer to my lips, closer to my tongue, closer to my ears, closer to my heart. Then when we have this feeling of separation, deep separation, that's the third hall. But then he also warns us that maybe even after all that, Krishna will not come. Then what do we do? Then Maharaj says, we have to wait. We have to wait. But Krishna, because he's very affectionate, he will send us some agarbatti sugandha, some incense fragrance from inside the room, from inside his private chamber. He will send some tulsi smells, some fragrance will be coming out. And then we can understand, yes, my best friend Krishna is waiting for me. I need to be also patient and wait for him. So this way, when we chant our rounds every day, when we study Srīmad Bhāgavatam, when we relate these stories in a personal manner, our life becomes so amazing, so blissful and so happy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki. Any questions or comments? How Prabhupada says the last sentence here, the basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotees is exhibited to enjoy a transcendental bliss for which there is no comparison, even up to the level of Brahmananda. Brahmananda is the highest, like getting out of all the material troubles and almost like merging into Brahma. Very much a coveted situation for many impersonalists. Prabhupada says, no, there's no comparison. For us, it's very simple. we associate with devotees, we chant Hare Krishna, we perform our sadhana, we come together and organize festivals, more people can come, they get the benefit, and by doing that we also get the benefit. And that is our simple life. We become old gracefully and we die peacefully. Any questions or comments? I've said too much. Oh,
What was the gift, Prabhu?
sorry?
What was the gift you gave Mataji?
Okay. I hope you won't ask this question, Mataji. So, as I said, because it was approved by my spiritual master, it is okay. Otherwise, I'll tell you another story off the mic. There was a pendant I brought, but I can now very proudly say it was a big pendant, expensive pendant, because it had to be approved by my spiritual master. Yeah, it was, forgive me, I'm just like the worst shopper on the planet. So, yeah, that was a gift. Are you wearing it still or what? Okay, so you're keeping it carefully, right? This next 25 years you won't get any gift. Okay, so Prabhupada ki jai, Gyanraj, Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai.
His Grace Hare Prabhu ki.
Sorry, I won't become personally. It was a Bhagavatam class.